This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 196 of Horsemanship Radio, brought to you by HandsOn Gloves, the all-in-one revolutionary bathing grooming gloves. Horsemanship Radio is a part of the family of the Horse Radio Network. And today we have some rock stars, some new, some been around. This is Debbie Laux, and you're listening to the Horsemanship Radio. Thanks for joining us. Horsemanship Radio airs on the 1st and the 15th of the month, and I always have my producer Jen with me today. How are you?
Well, you have me most of the time when Glenn's not here.
That's true. I know. Only when you get to go do something fun do I not get you. So I'm glad to have you today for this work.
Every so often I go out and do something away from the house.
Every so often.
And every so often you get to go away from the house too. Have you been able to go out and do anything fun with your friends and your horsey friends lately?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? We're having so much fun right now. We talked on the last show about the quick trip to Eugene, but that actually has caused an explosion of the stuff that we're doing on the farm right now, too, because all the things I learned. So, yeah, we're going to be talking a little bit more about it in episode 197.
So there's exciting new things happening in Flaggins Farm.
Yeah. We got to put something in that you'll find out all about in 197, I think, at least to start.
Ooh.
And then today, we're exploring different supplements and things that we're looking at that are, I think, the future of horsemanship. And so we're going to be talking about hemp today, and it's a pretty, it's just an all-in-one product that's super sustainable. I hate all those buzzwords and everything. I sound like I'm talking about the environment or something, but it really is one of those holistic products, not just a byproduct. The whole thing is useful, and I think it's good for horses. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I had Dad come in, and we sat down. We're preparing for a uni lesson, actually, our Monty Roberts University. And, I love sitting him down and saying, tell me about this bit or tell me about this tack and tell me why you did this and that. And every once in a while, I have my phone close enough by to turn on the recorder. And we did that. And he just held his snaffle bit in his hand. Actually, Jamie Jennings, the host of Horses in the Morning, actually requested this be done. She said, could you tell your dad to talk to people? Because I tell him about the snaffle all the time, and I'm sure I miss a lot of elements of it. But she said, tell him to talk into the recorder and tell us all the different aspects of the snaffle and why it works so darn well. And so I did that, which he goes back into a little history about it too. And he talks a little bit about some of the other bits that are extensions after the snaffle, after the snaffle.
That's awesome. I love it. Geeking out on snaffle bits. Who doesn't love that, right?
I do. I love geeking out on equipment. I don't know if other people care about tack so much, but I just think that when you watch your horse carefully and you notice that a piece of tack works really well in this horse and doesn't always work as well in that horse, and then you find a piece of tack that seems to work for everybody, that you think, okay, what are the elements? What are we dealing with here? And it's sweet iron, it's copper, it's all these things that are maybe counterintuitive to people, like who want to, stainless steel is so pretty, but horses don't like it. horses go like it's cold and nasty. So that's just in the mouth. But there's all kinds of tack but today will be about what goes in and around the head.
There we go. Cool stuff. And before we do that, we have to hear about the HandsOn Gloves, all-in-one revolutionary bathing grooming gloves, because this show is sponsored by HandsOn Gloves.
Hi, I'm Monty Roberts, and am I excited to bring you the news of a revolutionary, new, all-in-one shedding, bathing, grooming tool, HandsOn Gloves. They are fantastic. And you believe me, I've tried them all. HandsOn outperforms traditional curry combs, shedding blades, metal bristles, and all those things. Most animals will gravitate to you for more grooming and petting time. If you wear them, your animals will love you more for it. While using the HandsOn Gloves, you can easily handle water hoses, shampoo bottles, lead ropes, leashes, and anything you want with them on your hands. They are easy to clean, and they massage muscles and stimulate circulation while helping to distribute natural oils for a healthy skin and coat. HandsOn is changing the way we bathe, de-shed, and groom our animals forever. HandsOn gloves. They are fantastic.
Monty Roberts first gained widespread fame with the release of his New York Times best-selling book, The Man Who Listens to Horses. It's a chronicle of his life and the development of his nonviolent horse training methods called Join Up. Monty grew up on a working horse farm as firsthand witness to traditional, often violent methods of horse training and breaking the spirit with an abusive hand. Rejecting that, he went on to win 11 World's Championships in the show ring. Today, Monty's goal is to share his message that violence is never the answer. Roberts has been encouraged by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II with an award of the membership in the Royal Victorian Order, as well as becoming a patron of Join Up International. She did several years ago. Other honors that Monty received were the ASPCA Founders Award and the FEI's Man of the Year. Monty was named Horse and Hound magazine's top 50 horsemen of all time and is credited with launching the first of its kind Equus Online University, an interactive online lesson site to teaching violence-free training. Monty Roberts now on the best features of a snaffle bit and why.
All right, I have a rare opportunity here to get inside the brain of Monty. Good morning, Dad.
Good morning.
I'm happy to talk to you today about design. We've been talking about the why that you do things, and then, of course, there's always those extrinsic moments. There are those pieces of equipment that you use consistently around the world, and probably more obvious is your lack of using equipment. There's very few things that you really tell us that this is your design and very purposefully use in different ways. And you've got your snaffle in your hand, I see.
Yeah, and I tell you that all of us have favorite ways to go, and we might be slightly different from one another. But I have to say that the design of my snaffle bits is the proudest change that I've made from the normal snaffle bit that you will see around the world. And we'll try to describe that for you today.
Yeah. So I see in your hand you've got, it's definitely black iron, but that is the mouthpiece, and you have stainless steel rings with your fingers through it. So if you had to describe a snaffle bit in a traditional sense, it's broken in the middle in this case, but it's not quite in the middle, is it?
No, it's not quite in the middle. And to be honest with you, the first time that the builders of my snaffle bit sent one back, I thought it was a mistake because one side is a little shorter than the other side, and I want it to break in the middle. Well, the only way you can get a snaffle bit to break in the middle because of the looping factor at the center of it is to make one side a little shorter than the other. One side has a lesser distance to travel in the mouth of the horse than the other. So that's a unique feature. 99% of all the snaffle bits commercially produced have mouthpieces that are the same length one to the other, which then doesn't allow them to break in the center of the horse's mouth. So they're slightly offset, and I prefer the center of the horse's mouth.
So there's a trivia question for you when you go into a Tack shop. So I noticed too that where the mouthpiece meets the ring, you have a particular type of fit on that. What is that?
Yeah, that's called a modified egg butt. And an egg butt just means that that part that touches the corners of the horse's mouth looks a little bit like an egg. And you will see snaffle bits hanging on the walls of the tack shops with a great big, almost full-sized egg. Mine is maybe a third of that size. But what it does is that it produces a flat surface to reach to the corners of the horse's mouth, so that when you pull one rein or the other, the bit doesn't pull through to the corner and jam down on a small mouthpiece. It has a blunt 90% 90-degree elevation up and down from the corner of the horse's mouth. It's a little hard to describe, but if you get one of them, or if you see a picture of one of them, you'll see what I mean about giving the horse a blunt surface at the corner of their mouth, rather than just two bars joining together and it pulls into the corner of the mouth, creating oftentimes significant sores in the corner of the horse's mouth.
What would you say to somebody who says full cheek? There's this not a full cheek snaffle, and why is that?
Well, a full cheek snaffle would mean that it has a snaffle mouthpiece, but an up and down cheek joining it, so that you have leverage in the horse's mouth. And that's not what we're after in the early stages of training a horse. Or in fact, if you're just brushing up and doing some things with a horse that's 8 or 9 years old, you might put a snaffle. I often ride my horses in a snaffle right up to the teenage years once in a while. And you can use a full-on adult bit, if you will call it that, with a cheek piece for those horses that have been trained for, let's say, more than a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's an important point that you just said. What cases do you find yourself putting a snaffle bit back in the mouth of a nearly fully trained horse?
Well, when you have a cheek that yields pressure to the horse's mouth when you pull the rein, let's say the horse starts showing you that he's frightened of something. I can think of a time when we had a pig, and the pig was in the pen next to the arena there. I don't know why we had the pig, but we had the pig for some reason. And the smell of the pig and the sound of the pig and the sight of the pig was frightening to a lot of horses that were older. So they would bolt away, and you're trying to get them used to the pig and have them travel past the pig's pen without all that trauma. And if you have cheeks on it, you're going to be pulling the horse around with a lot of pressure on their mouth that they really don't deserve. So the snaffle bit is a good way to go, just to guide them without pressure on their mouth and save those tender nerves in there to be a light mouth, one that responds to the cheek bit with just a touch. So the snaffle, in my opinion, stays with me for a lot of years with any horse that I ride and count on, because it saves the nerves of the horse's mouth.
Yeah, beautiful. So there's a very important part that you taught us about with every horse that's an advantage, and that's the copper inlay that you have down in that black iron bit.
Yes. First of all, when I was a child, I had to clean all the bits. And they came back from the Second World War with these cavalry bits that were stainless steel. And as a child, I thought, oh man, this is terrific. Stainless steel doesn't get rusty and everything. And it's easier to clean. So this is going to be good. And then I noticed a downturn in the behavior of the horses with a stainless steel bit in their mouth. They didn't like it. It's colder. It's more unforgiving. Where the rusty bit, they like it. It's warmer. It's forgiving. And it's much more tolerable in the horse's mouth. So yes, you see my bit that I designed in black iron. And I must tell you, that I believe I led the world in putting snaffle bits in horses' mouths with black iron again in, let's say, the 50s. And I watched as they created a thing called the snaffle bit futurity for the Western horses. And first you saw 3 out of 50 horses with the black iron. And then you saw 10, and then 20, and then 30. And now you just don't see a stainless steel snaffle bit in the horses' mouths at the snaffle bit futurity. They will, virtually every bit will be rusty. And so I put a stainless steel ring on the outside so that any judge looking at it, or it looks nicer because it's clean and everything. But in their mouth, you'll see they get what they want. And that's a rusty bit. Softer, more yielding kind of metal than the stainless steel is.
So the stainless steel is for people and the black iron's for the horse.
You could say that, yeah.
All right. And saliva is super important. Moisture in the horse's mouth.
Yeah, if you think about it, I mean, if we put something in our mouth that is just dry and tends to irritate the mouth, we don't like it so much. If we have moisture in our mouth, anything that we put in there will be better invited to be in the mouth than without moisture in the mouth. Moisture in the mouth is critically important. It helps the bars stay lubricated so that the bit glides over the bars and doesn't pull into the skin that's dry. So you want moisture in there. Now, how do you get moisture in the horse's mouth? You could take a squeeze bottle and put it in about every 2 or 3 minutes, and that would be ridiculous. But if you put a bit of copper inlaid so that there's no change in the diameter of your mouthpiece, it's smooth, nice and smooth, beautifully inlaid copper, the copper will generate moisture in the horse's mouth. Copper just does. For some reason, our body says send moisture when it tastes or feels copper. So it's the same with humans as it is with horses. And so I have rings. The bit that I'm holding here has 3 copper rings on each side, or 6 copper rings in the distance from the left side of the horse's mouth to the right side of the horse's mouth. You'll also notice, if you look downward on my design bit, that the bit mouthpiece itself is slightly curved. And it's slightly curved, if you'll notice, commensurate with the diameter of the lower mandibles, or the joint, the bone of the horse's lower jaw. And so it rides over that jaw more comfortably than one that's straight, a straight snaffle, straight across the horse's mouth. And yet you go into the tack shops and you will see straight snaffles straight across the horse's mouth with no curvature at all, one after another. It's getting a little better, and they do give you choices now. But making the right choice is the critical thing here. And I've designed a bit that I think is the epitome of a snaffle bit. And I've designed a lot of different things for horses and the training of horses. The horses that won't go in the starting gate get a come along on. I only use that with students of mine that have already been trained on it, because it's something you want to be very careful for. But I've designed things about saddles that are better for me than most, and quite a few things. Naturally, when you start showing horses in competition when you're 4 years of age, and as we speak today, I'm 86, so in that period of time, you're going to see things that you want the way you want it. And of all the things that I've changed, the snaffle bit is probably the most effective change that I've made in any piece of equipment. Yes, I have regular bits with black iron mouthpieces That is to say, they have jaws on them, correction bits, if you want to call them, bits that create pressure when you pull on the rein with the curb strap, as opposed to a snaffle bit, which is just in the horse's mouth and is a very forgiving way to ask the horse for directions and for speed and for halting and all of the things that you ask a horse for with a bit in his mouth. The rings in my bit that I've designed, the snaffle bit, are slightly a D shape, and there are D-shaped snaffles all over the world, most of which are straight out stainless steel because it's prettier. And that's why the cavalry loved it, because they have to clean them up every day for the sergeant to go through, and they get extra duty if they don't have a clean bit. So the stainless steel is nice for that. But the mouthpiece must, in my opinion, be black iron with inlaid copper.
Mm-hmm. And black iron rust, as you said, too, which surprises people sometimes.
Yeah, and they say, oh, rusty, that's not good. Well, you ask your horse, and he'll say it's better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the gauge, you tend to be a bigger around. Now, some people will go like, oh, isn't that big gauge in their mouth something?
Yeah, I've had so many people. I'm holding one here that's the smaller gauge of the two that I've designed. I even have a thicker one. But people will look at it and say, oh, that's a big thing in his mouth. It's going to hurt. You think about it for a moment. What if we put a wire through his mouth? Ooh, that would hurt. It would cut right in. So the smaller gauge bits that you use are more punishing to the horse's mouth, tongue, and bars than the large gauge. And yes, I have two sizes because a small Arab horse would want the a little bit narrower gauge because they have such a tiny head and everything is tiny about them. But the quarter horse and most of the thoroughbreds, they much prefer the larger mouthpiece. It's more blunt. It doesn't dig into their tissues. So you have to stop and be very discerning about this, because the smaller the mouthpiece, the more pressure there is in the horse's mouth, the more it hurts when you pull hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, concentrated on a smaller amount of flesh there, yeah. So what would you say to people who say, wow, Monty, why aren't you bitless altogether? You've got a dually halter, which has rings on both sides and can be used as a bitless bridle. Why do you recommend a snaffle with a young horse, or even the horse that is relearning or learning new things and that we've talked about today? So tell me about it's not just a graduating from this to this to this necessarily based on training, but tell us a little bit about your philosophy of bits in the mouth.
Well, one could say, if you look back at my career, that I was much better with a hackamore on a horse than I was when they went into the bits. I won more. I won 2 world championships in the hackamore division on the same horse with the same hackamore. That's never been done before. So I suppose you could call that some sort of a highlight of my career. So I don't mind using alternative things. My dually halter becomes something you can ride with. That's okay. But then there becomes a time when you might want to show in competition and you have to use the bit that's approved for that competition. So teaching the horse to be guided by directions from the mouth is absolutely essential. And also, the hackamore, the reason that I won 2 world championships with this horse, in the hackamore, that had never had a bit in his mouth, was that he could take a lot of pressure on the hackamore, and it didn't bother him. He'd just keep working. I called him not so bright about that because most horses will learn how to lean into the pressure of a noseband and those things that you would use that are bit alternatives. So eventually, as the horse becomes an adult, you need to go on with him in the bit. The horse that I'm telling you about that won the 2 world championships was sold for a lot of money and then was put in the bit and never won a thing for the rest of his life. So I don't know whether being in the hackamore that long was detrimental to him or not, but it didn't work to get him in the bit. But anyway, a bit is something that most people, and think about the amateur riders, using a noseband to do it requires a lot more technical skills in your hands than the bit does. And the bit should be as kind of an automatic transmission, if you will, that you can just pick up the left rein and guide the horse to go left and guide the horse to go right from the mouth so much easier than you can from the nose. It requires a good deal more ability and skill to get a horse properly guided from the nose, or bands around the nose, any kind of bitless bridle you want to talk about. You can ride a horse with just a rope around his neck, but only for so long. And then pretty soon he says, I don't have to do this because you can just pull my neck all you want. Well, that's just another step in the business of eventually requiring a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. And we should describe, name that horse that you won the 2 world championships in, and describe a little bit about what that hackamore looked like, because, there's a lot of mechanical hackamore. There's a lot of different looking hackymores out there.
Yeah, and this particular hackamore, which I preferred, stayed stiff, and that's because it had a cable core inside of it. And then the rawhide that made up the hackamore was braided around the cable core. And that means you could come up to the chin. And what is the most important thing about any direction that you give a horse? It's release. The 2 factors in causing a horse to do anything you ask him to do is pressure and release. And the most important one of those is the release. And why is that? Because the horse is learning that if he does this willingly and quickly, bingo, he gets a release. So asking him to turn left or right is fine. You pick up the hackamore or the bit and you bump his chin with the hackamore or you touch his mouth with the bit, and he goes left or right as you're guiding him. But is he going to keep doing that all the time? Well, you just keep pulling, and eventually he'll say, I'm not doing it, and he'll become what's called hard-mouthed or hard-nosed. And he will just say, to heck with you, I don't get any release. But if he's quick to respond and give you the direction you're asking for, and you release just as quickly as he does it, then he says to himself, that's what I want to do. I don't want to be pulled on. I'll do whatever he asks me. And then we have to be fair. You can't go out there and ride a horse all day long and just keep pulling and cantering and have him dead tired. You have to be judicious about the requests that you make of a horse, and that horse should be observed closely to see, is he fit enough to do this? Is he willing to do this? Is he happy doing this? You can make a horse do almost anything you want them to, and you get tough enough, you can make them do it. But that isn't the answer. It's causing the horse to want to do it. So let them have some fun with it, and let them stop a little before they're too tired to enjoy it. And you'll find your horses much more reasonable to ride than horses that have been tugged on and punished and overworked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a nice note to wrap up with. But I think we haven't said probably one of your more famous quotes, which is about the equipment, the most important piece of equipment that you use.
Yeah, if you look in a tack room of a champion rider, and he's got 25, 30, I probably have 30 or 40 bits hanging up still at 86 years of age that I used, and some of them that are just precious old antique bits, you know. But you can go into a tack room and see bits and hackamores and halters and everything hanging up there. And then you ask yourself, what is the most important piece of equipment in this tack room? And most people will point to something they like. But in every case, it's the hands that hold it. That's the most important thing. And the brain that uses those hands has to be judicious about how long to do it, how hard to do it, how often to do it, how seldom to do it. You have to really watch the horse's reactions and finally get him to want to do it. Then you're going to be a good horse trainer.
Leave this world a better place than mine. The magic in the language of the herd.
Hi, I'm Monty Roberts, and I'm coming to you now to talk about the Monty Roberts Online University. You know, there ought to be 6 months in everybody's life where they just live with their animals. I've been staying home, but 3 months now, I've been home with this virus thing, and the things I'm learning, we're bringing you a new series. What horses see, how horses see, and about horses seeing things. The online university is bringing you the last 3 years of my learning process, which I promise you is the learningest years I ever spent. The Monty Roberts Online University, you won't miss a minute of it if you get started on it. I love bringing it to you, and it's my shot to take my concepts to the next generation.
Leave this world a better place than mine. The magic in the language of the herd.
John Piracha is Chief Executive Officer at American Harvest, Inc. He specializes in the purest CBD oil extracted from organic and conventional hemp grown in the U.S. Their proprietary process combines science with cutting-edge technology to produce the very best quality products. Also, Darren Egan is a trainer. Speaking for American Harvest, he's used the product for 5 years now. He's raced and trained at the highest level in the thoroughbred industry. Well, welcome. I am so happy to have both John Piracha, Chief Executive Officer, as we just said, very important person, and Darren Egan, trainer and a horse lover after my heart on that too, on having us on this episode where we're going to introduce a new company in the United States called American Harvest, and we're excited to know a little bit more about them because guys, I'm really pretty ignorant about this whole product, and I'm excited to know more about horses and this product. So you're going to have to help me learn a little bit. Is that okay, John?
That sounds great.
Okay, great. Now, where are you, John? Are you in Montana right now?
I'm in Sydney, Montana. Yes.
Sydney, Montana. That is like left of Ocala where Darren is. Is that right? Pretty far away.
That is. We're right at the North Dakota border in eastern Montana.
My goodness. Okay, so that's way up there. But is that very fertile, wonderful soil up there because you've chosen that place for growing?
Actually, it is. We are in prime farmland. We have about 5 million acres of farmland within 2 hours of our facility. And some of the best crops are grown in Montana, including wheat. And we are growing hemp in Montana.
That's great. Well, I understand that you've come from a pretty diverse business background, And I'm always fascinated by people who start companies or go in and create companies out of something that wasn't formed a few years ago. I'd like to know, just from a chief executive officer, CEO position, what's the philosophy of your company and the reasons why you wanted to create a product for horses?
So we are, hemp is a brand new agricultural crop in the U.S.
Hemp,
Hemp, and it got legalized in December of 2018 for the Farm Act. We took that opportunity to take that crop and produce wonderful products that are natural and promote sustainability and healthy alternatives for humans, animals, and the environment. So hemp has diversified uses, and many people know CBD, and we produce CBD as part of our business, and our CBD products are for humans as well as animals, and we're excited to bring that the same products for horses.
Yeah, I mean, and what person has horses and doesn't have dogs? So I know you have dogs on there too, looking over your site. So I'm learning, but I think somebody who is new to this whole concept, like I am, and a lot of horse people, we have our heads down and we're busy keeping our horses healthy. Maybe you can explain just top level now, what's the difference between cannabis, hemp, and marijuana?
Well, let me put it this way. So hemp is same plant as marijuana. There are two types: cannabis sativa and cannabis indica. Okay. Hemp is the non-intoxicating plant, so it has little to no THC. Less than 0.3 THC is what hemp is, and marijuana is got a higher percentage of THC, and THC is the molecule that makes you high or psychoactive. Okay. So you don't get high from hemp, but you do from marijuana, and that's probably the biggest difference.
Okay, there we go. So that's the big elephant in the room that everybody wanted to ask is, what are we feeding our horses here? What gets them high? And so you decided to do a hemp product. Is that because the hemp product is that going to be something that is a future product for horses? I'm kind of curious about that. Yes. It seems like it's a good protein base, and we can get into this in another episode, I think, with your vet, because I want to ask him all these geeky, techie questions about it. But what was the philosophy behind it growing hemp for horses?
Well, we grow hemp for humans as well as animals, and actually, Darren came to me 2 years ago, and Darren has been using hemp and CBD for his horses for quite a while. Okay. And he said to me, we need to develop a product for horses. And Darren is a trainer as well as a former jockey. And we got together and developed some wonderful products for horses.
Yeah, it sounds like you did. Darren, we know you from way back. You come from, some of your friends we even know from way back. Claire Conahan is a certified Monty Roberts instructor, and you have so much talent and ability, and you've been across the horse disciplines in the thoroughbred industry for sure. And I was dying to talk to you too about what drew you first to the hemp product. Somebody says, hey, somebody told me I should feed this to my horse. What's the why?
Well, first of all, for me, I discovered CBD using it on myself. Okay. I've seen all these claims, all the scientific backing that it could be useful to relieve anxiety and stress, which I'm pretty sure everybody deals with at least a little bit of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I went ahead and I gave it a try, and lo and behold, it definitely worked on me. Okay. So I said, well, maybe this is something that could work on equines, because I've seen it being promoted for dogs and cats, but not so much in the equine industry. So that's when I reached out to John. After doing some research, I figured out that horses, like humans, have an endocannabinoid system where they can produce and use their own cannabinoids and external cannabinoids to regulate the body and help the body work and function better. So that's how I got started.
Well, I love that. I love that you guys both come from a direction of wanting to, I think, not only feed horses a product that might help them in a high stress job like thoroughbred industry, I don't care what part of the thoroughbred industry, if you're a horse or if you're in the backstretch community, it's a pretty high stress. I mean, it's a 4 a.m. till, dinner time kind of job. I know that too. But I'm curious about the focus part of the product too, Darren. What did you see in your horses that way?
For me, what I can see the biggest benefit focus-wise is, I work a lot with young, they're yearlings when I get them. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the processes that I'll be putting them through will be the first time they'll ever go through it. Okay. Like taking a saddle, taking a rider, long lines, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I just see from a day-to-day basis, they can learn, understand, and retain what I'm trying to teach them much better, much more effectively than without.
Yeah. Good. I mean, that alone is worth everybody trying a product. This product is for, who's this product for? Is this some performance horse, or do we have to worry about drug tests, or is it really more for the training process?
It's for every horse. Every horse has an endocannabinoid system. So yeah. Okay. It technically should work on all horses, albeit some horses will have a slightly different action or effect in other horses.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Excuse me.
No problem.
Debbie, I will say that our products have 0% THC, and so it has no THC. But it provides all the other cannabinoids that the natural plant intended. So the hemp plant has over 100 cannabinoids, and they work synergistically when a human or an animal takes that.
Okay. So, to my question of, does it show up on a drug test? Does a performance horse have to worry about that in any different discipline? Do they test for that? And that's a problem?
There was a case just recently in California, actually, where Hall of Fame trainer Ron McAnally had a horse test positive for CBD almost a year and a half ago. And they rescheduled CBD from a class A or class 1 to a class 3 drug, where it's they don't see it as performance enhancing. It is a banned substance in some jurisdictions, not all. You would have to check with that local jurisdiction for whatever competition or events you're trying to compete in.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
okay. Yeah, that's great. I mean, we all want to protect, what everybody else is doing out there, but we also want sort of the industry to move on, don't we? We want to find more natural products that are being grown in the U.S. so we know what's going on too. I love that you probably fall under all the right categories of certification for this, John. What do they require of you to prove for your product? Is there anything that is sort of like, well, if you're doing it for people, that's about the highest level, I imagine.
Yes. So we're doing it for people as well as for animals. We have built out our manufacturing facilities, installed top-notch equipment, all the latest equipment we have, and we've got all the certifications. One of them is the processing license that you need. We have that. We also manufacture to the highest standards, so you can be assured of the quality that we produce. The other important thing that we've been able to do is we've partnered with Hubbard Feeds. Now, Hubbard Feeds is a subsidiary of Alltech, and you might be familiar with that company.
Sure.
Alltech is the leader in the animal supplement space. So what we did for our equine product, we partnered with them. So we manufacture it together with Hubbard Feeds, and they also distribute our products to their dealers, as well as online at the Alltech store. So we have passed through some rigorous standards to bring our hemp-based products for equine to market.
Well, that's great. Okay, so here's what we got for you guys. You were telling us that, this is a new product, new company coming out. Well, you're a couple years now, I'm sure. 2018, I think. Is that right, John?
That's correct.
Yeah. So you and your farming partners, you've been growing and processing high protein crops with hemp. And we decided that we thought, well, the way that we'd like to see the story unfold here for us is we have 3, let's call them 2 wild Mustangs and 1 grade Mustang, because she was feral and probably the wildest of the 3. And her name is Starlight. And then we have another Zephyra and another Zion. And we thought the best way for us to really understand, how the product works across different horses is to take a representation. So we will tell you that we started feeding just a little over a week ago. We started feeding the agreed upon for their weight amount of product, and we're training them. We're just getting to the point now where they're out of the gentling chute now. One named Zion is 2 years old, and he's a gelding now, and he was subjected to a helicopter roundup. And the other, Zephyra, was actually his mother. And a wonderful lady was filming this process of the helicopter roundup. And she saw that the mother, through her lens, was separated from the baby, Zion, the boy. And as they went into different trucks, she suddenly went into action and found out where each one was going, went to the places where they were kept in the holding pens, and adopted them both with a little bit of effort and put them back together and put them out on big fields up to Tehachapi, which is east of us here in Central California. And it's a wonderful story, but it's not over yet. We're just getting to that point with the 2 of them, those 2, that they're pretty chill now. They're getting pretty relaxed around people. Of course, Zephyra, who's now about 7, is a lot more skeptical of people, because she should be. And Zion is just he's a 2-year-old, as Darren would attest. He's just a wild boy right now, obviously not intact. They gelded him. But, and then the 3rd horse, Starlight, has gone through some horrific things. She was used as a roping horse. And when I say that, I don't mean that people roped off of her. They roped her. And she doesn't trust people as far as, I could throw them. And she has come a long way in the last few months that we've had her, but she's kind of at that same level now that both Zion and Zephyra are. So we're going to be using this supplement, and I want to tease people a little bit. This story is going to unfold where we're going to be noticing differences. The one thing we noticed right away is that Starlight loves our American Harvest hemp pellets. She wants to climb in the little white box that they come in, And I don't know about you, Darren, but the other 2 were a little skeptical at first, but once they've decided, and they're Mustangs, right? Decided the taste was good, that they wanted to dive in. How do you find, Darren, the horses accepting the taste?
Well, with me, I top feed on top of grain when I feed my grain, so it gets mixed in to the grain, and I've never had a horse not eat it.
Good.
I find
Okay.
it highly palatable.
Yeah, they do. So that's one, tick that box, John. The horses do enjoy it. Horses are funny with any new taste. They're called neophobic, according to my dad, Monty. And neophobic means like, I don't know what that is, and I'm not going to just jump in there without, some skepticism. But once they learn that, they'll get the taste rolled around in their mouth, they think it's pretty darn good. So we're excited about that, John, and we're happy that you supplied us a little bit that we can create that story with these 3, and we'll be putting some information up on social media. But we'd love to have you back too with your vet, Dr. Silver. I don't know that he's a veterinarian, but we'd like to hear a little bit more about some of the content of the product too. But Darren, you as a horse trainer and a horse, you've done everything in the horse industry, I think. What do you think is the future of products like this? Is this something that we've been missing and that everybody should get onto in the future?
I think hemp is going to be, 10 years down the line, the number 1 product used for horses in a number of ways. You can use it as bedding.
Mm-hmm.
You can use it as a supplement for protein. You can use it as a supplement for fat. You can use it as a supplement for cannabinoids. It's such a universal product. and it's such a sustainable product where, the wood shavings, which almost everybody now uses, having a pretty big environmental impact.
Yeah.
Number one, you got to chop a tree down and shred it to get the shavings, and number two is they don't decompose very well.
Mm-hmm.
And with hemp, it does a wonderful job at that. So I can see hemp being a major product in the equine industry.
Can I have one of each, please? Can I have the bedding, and can I have the fat product, and can I just have one of each?
Protein. Yeah, and they've got
most
the oils.
definitely would love to send you.
Yeah.
And that's interesting, Darren, that you mention the bedding. I did try hemp bedding once. One of the local stores here in Ocala had a sample. Got some samples in for local folks to try it, because both of my horses don't do well on shavings. They don't like the dust. It makes them cough.
Yeah.
And I liked it a lot. It was so easy to clean. It was very absorbent. Didn't have a dust issue. So fascinating stuff. Does American Harvest make other hemp products besides the supplements?
Yes, we actually do. We use the whole plant. So CBD is one part of our business. We will be introducing an animal bedding here in the first part of 2022. And, the bedding comes from the fiber part of the plant. And we have at our 33-acre hemp campus, we have 8 different buildings, and each of the buildings is devoted to a particular part of the plant, and we produce different products there.
How cool. I want to take a tour.
Bedding is,
Let's go.
Is definitely
in the
one
summer.
of the items that we will be bringing to market.
Well, that's so cool. Well, thanks, guys, for stopping by, and I'm genuinely looking forward to having you back along with the veterinarians so we can geek out on the veterinary aspects of these products in this company. And I didn't know, this is a surprise to me, I didn't know about the story with the 3 Mustangs. This is going to be so cool.
I know. I'm excited about it too. We'll have lots of photos on social media too. So people, and one thing that American Harvest is doing too, you guys are having a monthly contest. So if people want to get onto this, how do they find you guys? What's the website?
So we have a free giveaway right now, free 90-day giveaway. Listeners can go onto our website. That's ahihemp.com. And if you follow the link for entering for this contest, we'll be announcing a lucky winner every month. So I encourage all the listeners to go onto our site and enter their names.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. You are the future. We're so excited about having you on and having you back. And we will be talking to you soon. And good to hear from you, Darren.
Thank you very much, Debbie. Great hearing from you too.
Whisper the language of the herd. Listen, you don't have to say a word.
It's time for Jamie Jennings to fetch an email from Monty Roberts' inbox and share a morsel of Monty's wisdom in a little segment we like to call Ask Monty.
Leave this world a better place than mine. The magic in the language of the herd.
Dear Monty, I'm looking for ideas on how to help a horse that is on stall rest and can only be hand-walked post-surgery. He gets so, quite understandably, full of energy that he gets explosive, which makes going for a quiet hand-walk challenging, to say the least, and I don't want him to injure himself or me. How can I help him calm his mind and body? Monty's answer. This is a situation met by many owners. Follow the advice of your veterinarian on substances you might use to help quiet him for an extent that he is safe for you to lead. There is never an easy answer, but a conversation with your vet might suggest that a tranquilizer is necessary. You might think this may be harmful, but I promise that a horse's hoof landing on your head is far more harmful. A good area with secure footing and good footing is very important. Walking in a straight line back and forth is generally a solution, and often there's a hallway or breezeway with reasonable footing, or footing that can be made reasonable. And then walking where 2 walls is discourages bad behavior. That's a possibility. Schooling with the dually halter is an option if the need isn't already a factor. Studying my methods will find the use of the dually halter to be a safety measure practically unsurpassed.
For more of these insights into good horsemanship, go to montyroberts.com and click on the words Ask Monty at the bottom of the page.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
Where in the world is Monty Roberts?
Monty is looking forward to meeting some new friends, two-legged and four-legged, in January. Let's go to January 2022. Amazing. On January 29, we're going to start with Horsemanship 101. That's a one-day course, a lot of fun. January 31 through February 2, we'll have the introductory course module 1. That's the first steps to Monty's methods. And then in February, we'll have February 3 through 5, we're going to do those modules. Introductory course module 2, which is join up. Then 7 through 9 of February will be the introductory course module 3, which is the long lining with 2 lines. And then we'll have the 10th through 12th, the introductory course module 4, and that's prepping for those intro exams because we're going to have little instructors coming up with that little run there. And then February 14 through 18, this is filling fast. February 14 through 18 is the Gentling Wild Horse course. That's 5 days. And then we have a Monty special training right after that, 21 through 25, because we're going to turn those Gentling Wild Horses into something that Dad can work with on the 21st through the 25th of February. So then in March, we have the first of the year's Horse Sense and Healing, which is 4 through 6, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if you know any first responders, veterans, EMTs, trauma nurses, firemen, we have it all in here. Policemen, they need to be here if they're suffering at all from post-traumatic stress. And that is happening a lot around the nation. So think about those people that you might be able to send our way. It's free and it's really effective. Then March 8 through 10, we have our introductory course of Module 1, which is the first steps to Monty's methods. Then we're going to go into Module 2, the 15 through 17. That's join up. Module 3, 22 through 24 is the long lining. And then we're going to prep for those exams on March 29 through 31. Then getting into long term now, April 2022, we have introductory exams. So all those people that took all those modules should be ready at that point for the introductory exams. And that's April 4 through 8. And then we have a Horsemanship 101 to lighten it up, just one day. We call that Girlfriends Weekend, or we call it Mother-Daughter, Father-Daughter. I never say sons in there, unfortunately, but we should get some sons in there too. Horsemanship 101. And then April 22 through 24, we have our second Horse Sense and Healing. And then we have a Gentling Wild Horse. See, I'm telling you, they're really popular. 20 through 29 of April, we'll have a Gentling Wild Horse course again. Then May, we'll have our advanced exams. We'll have our instructor from Germany, Denise Heinlein. And all those people out there getting ready for your advanced exams, start looking at May 2 through 13 for those exams, and then May 16 through June 3 is an advanced course. So we'll have Denise over here from Germany if they let her out. I don't know. Germany's kind of in lockdown, but that's our plan. And then June, way advanced planning. Put June 6 through 10, Gentling Wild Horse course in your calendar. And then June 17 through 19, the Movement 2022. And we're going to be revealing our title for that this year. This is our 5th that we will have. And so we're getting excited about that. It will be Father's Day weekend. And then June 24 through 26 is another Horse Sense and Healing.
There's a lot going on.
Don't you think? Aren't we busy? That's
There's
impressive.
a lot going on. You can find all of that and more at montyroberts.com. Phone number to contact, flag is up farm, the calendar, the uni, shopping so you can get dually halters and other supplies. And I do believe you can even get a snaffle bit there.
Yep.
There you go. And for details about today's show, go to horsemanshipradio.com. You're going to find links, photos, and more information about today's guests and topics. And we love your feedback. A great way to give us feedback is by doing it on social media. On Facebook, it's Monty Roberts, the one with a little blue check mark. And on Twitter, as well as Instagram, Monty_Roberts. And thank you very much for our title sponsor. Who are they?
HandsOn gloves. They're the best. I love them. And MontyRobertsUniversity.com. So please support those and us. Be sure to visit all the other great shows too on the Horse Radio Network at www.horseradionetwork.com. I love you, listeners. And until next time, have many happy horse hours.